Hello, I am Mystic Pumpkin, and this is video hashtag 542. In this video, I'll be talking about and reviewing Winx Club Season 3, Episode 20. This is the episode where the Pixies are the main characters. I wanted to talk about this episode because I think this episode is probably my favorite episode for Season 3. And I feel like it's a better episode than what I covered in my last Winx Club video. And yes, this is my favorite episode. You'd think, I did think about this, what my favorite episode is in Winx Club Season 3. You'd think I would say episode 13. It's where Techno earns her enchantix. That might be true. Like I do like that episode. I think it's a great episode where both Layla and Techno get to shine in that episode, and I think it's a great moment for both of them. Reason why it's not my number one spot is because um, it is kind of a sad episode, and it does make me feel sad. It's a great moment for Techno, but it just doesn't make me. It's it's sad. I'm still proud of Techno and Layla for their accomplishment in that episode. It's just In the first scene of this episode, we have noticed that Farragonta has brought the girls into their meeting, in her meeting room. She brought the news about Valtor taking over Light Monastery or something. Is that place where the witch was sent last season? So he took all the spells. That seems like a serious place to take spells from. So I would have loved it if there was an episode dedicated on that. Anyway, this reminds me of a thing in My Little Pony. It's where they would have an episode dedicated on the background characters. So, this episode does remind me of that. And I think that's a clever idea. I think episode like this is great way to interact with background characters in Winx Club. So I would have loved if there was other episodes too. Maybe episodes about the specialists, episodes about the witches. I wouldn't mind. Like if one episode dedicated to them, that would be fun. Anyway, the Winx go abandon the pixies to go on the mission. I do feel bad for them because it does feel a bit discriminatory against pixies. Like they're not allowed to go on the mission because they're small. Anyway, I love this scene where DJ was fighting off this character, and in I think in the focus dub they call it Scarfichu. I'm not sure what they call it in Ray and Nick. I haven't checked, but I think that's a fun thing that they called it Scarfichu. It seems like a reference to Pikachu, and it's a yellow color, so that's funny. I love that each pixie is bonded to each Winx fairy, but I would have loved if Livy, Jolly, Zing, or Glim. I wish they were bonded to a fairy because I do love them. I find them really fun. I find every pixie is so fun and personalized. In the next scene, the tricks are seen fighting over Valta. We also see shots of Valtor spying on them. Let's talk about stalkers. Anyway, Stormy and Darcy give ideas on how they could flatter Valtor. Stormy thinks Valtor would like a ride on her twister. Yeah, and Darcy thinks making a portrait out of him, he will like that. Like Darcy does make an interesting statement about how guys are more self-absorbed than girls are. I don't know if that's true. I think either is equally as bad. I think it's pretty clever that the tricks try to plan to take spells from Pixie Village, because I do think if Altor took over Pixie Village, he does have something important, and I think that's the flower of life, or tree of life. So I think if Valtor had control of that, that would be a big for him. Because you know what happens in season 4. I think it's that one episode where like they're trying to bring magic back to Earth. So they had to rely on that tree. In the next scene, we have the funny part of the scene. I feel like I have to dissect each scene bit by bit. First of all, I like that they mentioned Lordaka and what they did last season, because it's brought to their mind that like the Pixie Village, like they probably changed it after the last encounter. I got goosebumps when they mentioned Lordaka. Yeah. I find it hilarious that Stormy tries to get information from Glim, who is a baby pixie. So yeah, and I think it's funny when IC points out like even if Stormy did get the information, like they wouldn't able to understand her. It just gives me a funny imagination of what that would look like. Also, I love Glim. She's so underrated as a pixie. I love her design. And I totally ship Glim and Piff because they're both baby pixies. I can totally see them hanging out together more often. So, so since they have the plan of abducting Pixie Village, they want to squeeze the information out of Glim, so another Pixie can save it. I do think that's a fun idea because that does happen. However, Glim uses like a stinger on Tommy's eyes, and it stings her. I also found this scene really hilarious. This is my favorite scene of this episode. Is where like Stormy is like I think Icy puts ice on her eyes and she's like um she just leaves and leaves Stormy quiet and looking ridiculous. I do think this is a comedic scene and I think it does well. In the next scene, the main six pixies are still bummed that they can't go on the mission with their fairy friends. That must feel suck. In the next scene, Livy delivers the message about Zing and Glim being in trouble and that Pixie Village is about to be attacked. I also like the fact that in the Foxy's dub, Livy is kind of forgetful. It's a good personality to add to her character. I also find this next scene really cute. Every pixie and pixie pets are stepping up to defend the other characters. In the next scene, the tricks try to attack Zing and Glim to get information out of them, especially to Zing, who can talk. But since the pixies can't cooperate, Icy tries to do the hard way. So she ends up freezing everything in the forest. I mean, that makes sense for her. In the next scene, Darcy ends up catching Zing and Glim by her hand. It's funny when she makes those baby noises, especially when she says things like coochie coochie coo and all that. It does remind me of the time when they had Army of Decay, and I think in the Foxy's dub, Darcy will still have that do that baby voice, like she'll sound like she's a mother. I definitely think Darcy would be a MILF. The next part of the scene I found funny as well. Like Darcy tries to make Zing and Glim talk, and she did ask, and Glim responded in her baby voice. I thought it was pretty funny and cute how Glim responded to Darcy. She used her baby voice language, and Darcy couldn't able to understand the language. In the next scene, the pixies have arrived to save the day. Then Digit shrinks her size and tickles Darcy. That's also a funny scene. Honestly, this episode is so perfect, you really need to watch it. We have an amazing battle with the Tricks, Pixies, and the Pixie Pets. But I did cringe a little when Icy stepped on the porcupine. I mean, I know she's evil, but that's got to be painful. Like, it's painful when it's something physical. Anyway, since the pixies are hard to catch, Darcy uses a spell to make them bigger. Unfortunately, she made them too big, and Amori ends up pancaking Kiko. And because of her size, Digit just manhandles Stormy. Okay, I know I'm biased because Techno is my favorite, but I think Digit is probably my favorite Pixie. And no, it's not because she's Techno's bonded Pixie. Digit is just amazing in this episode, and she's probably the most fun Pixie. But all in all, I like each and one of them. They're so fun. Like the every personality of the Pixies are just fun. I would have loved if like Cherie or Caramel was included in this Pixie battle. That would be so fun. You know who else? I would have loved if Jolly was included. Where is she? And maybe the elder Pixies. That would have been so cool. Like have everyone in here. You know, this is how they could have done Pop Pixie. I've seen that, and I'm not a fan. If Fokies was still around, they would have done Pop Pixie and the Nickelodeon era seasons. They could have done that so much better. I'm just saying. In the next part of the scene, Icy freezes Digit, and by doing this, Digit, she's counting on Digit to give away her information about where Pixie Village is. But good thing, like, pixies don't hang out alone, and you just have a group of pixies with you. So, anyway, Amari tried to negotiate with the tricks. Like, she has pixie dust, and she can use that in each tricks. So, Valtor can fall in love with them, which is what the tricks want, right? So all they need to do is break Digit free so Amori can give the pixie dust. I mean, you gotta love Amori for being a good negotiator. And for doing this, the tricks look really pathetic and desperate, wanting the pixie dust. And this, like, Valtor is seeing all this. I wouldn't blame him if he's feeling a little bit embarrassed by this. Like, this is how your henchmen are like, and yeah, this is how they behave. I can totally see that, like, embarrassing Valtor's reputation. So seeing this, Valtor steps in and like scolds the tricks for being so pathetic. It's really damning how far down the tricks have gotten over the past 3 seasons. Like the tricks used to be like the girl bosses. Even in season 2, they used to be girl bosses, but now this is how they behave. Anyway, when Valtor comes, DJ is still in her ice thing, and she really wants to take him down. So Digit tries to do that, but she ends up crushing Stormy and Darcy with her body. I mean, that got to be embarrassing for them in front of Valtor. Anyway, in the next scene, the Winx come back from the mission. They couldn't even find Valtor from the mission, but we all know where he was all the time. He was busy like staring at the tricks and the pixies all this time. The fact that we as audience don't even know where Valtor is himself, that's pretty interesting as well. Because like where is he? And finally, in the last part of this episode, the Winx and the other fairies they congratulate the pixies for finding Valtor and defeating the tricks, and they especially give congratulations to Digit for being the leader of this pixie thing. I do love the scene. One thing I do like about this scene is like Amaryl gets to perk up in this episode. That I do like. I would have loved if like Amaryl spoke up more in the show. This is probably her only line in the season. It's a shame, like characters like Amaryl, Nova, Galatea, other characters. I would have loved if there was episode dedicated to them. Like if there's an episode dedicated to the Pixies, there could be one for these background fairies. I'm sure like there's a game where they do explore the minor fairies, or maybe the specialists or the witches. That would be so awesome. Like do what My Little Pony did, and do it like this. I think that would work. Anyway, that's it for this video. I really enjoyed making this episode. Anyway, to summarize, um, I would say this episode of season 3 of Winx Club is my favorite episode of season 3. I said this before in the beginning. You know why? I think my favorite thing about it is the comedy, especially coming from Focus, because I did a comparison of Ray and the Nick one. Those two aren't as funny as the Focus one, and when I'm watching the Focus one, it's really funny to me. The it just the dialogue and the music is just fun. And I also love that um, every pixie gets to be involved. Um, the thing that I would say I would have appreciated is if there was an episode dedicated in the like monastery thing, like if we could see like Valtor taking control of that, because I feel like that's a serious situation, because I'm pretty sure like seen we've seen season 2, like that's at the place where like with the tricks get they get reformed and stuff. That's what they try to do. So that seems pretty serious. So that would be a great if we seen that happening. And I also would have loved if other pixies were involved, like Jolly, or maybe new pixies. Who knows? But I think I'm proud of what we've got from this episode. Anyway, if you like this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and have a lovely day.
No!